we've got some preseason in front of that we've already seen. We know how well people are excited about what happened with Shedeur, the people who like him at least, and the people who dislike him are probably disappointed that he did as well as he did in his opener. But let's all remember that's all just preseason. So here's what I wanted to throw out to you today, John. And I'll be over there with the Vikings later on today because they've got a joint practice with New England Patriots. So that should be pretty fun. So see what they look like, see what New England looks like. Everybody wants to see what Drake May looks like as far as throwing the football around out there. So that should be pretty cool between he and JJ, that competition. But here's what I wanted to throw out to you. Now there's a lot of obvious names that we could go with, but who's somebody who's not necessarily an obvious name out there? Like, for instance, if I said, who's going to win the NFC and be the NFC team in the Super Bowl? I'd say 90% of people are going to say, well, it's probably the Philadelphia Eagles. And if it's not the Eagles, it's this team, or, that type of thing. But somebody other than the obvious. So here's what I'll throw out to you. My NFC team, and I'm throwing this out because of what I've seen them do in the offseason, how they changed things, what their quarterback looks like, because you have to always start with the quarterback. I'm going to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be my NFC team. Now, that's a long shot, and we're having to get rid of the Eagles and Washington and some of the other favorites in San Francisco. But for me, I'm going to say it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On the AFC side, everybody loves, Baltimore, of course, is great, and they are. I mean, all these teams are great for all the right reasons, but I wanted to go a little bit of a different way. So I decided to say, you know what? I think it's the Chargers. I think the coach there with Jim Harbaugh is absolutely incredible. They've got probably one of the biggest offensive lines in football, and they don't look like they came from a pie-eating contest, John. These guys are big. They're tough. Their running backs are great. They did a great job in free agency going out and getting the right kind of guys for the offense so they can run a little bit more, because that is what Jim likes to do. He also has a pretty damn good quarterback back there in Herbert too. So I look at that and I say, you know what? I'm going to say the Chargers and I'm going to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These are the longer shots, but I think that they are legitimately, potentially Super Bowl teams. How about you?
I'm going to say, Pete, Washington Redskins. And yes, I said Redskins.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
Maybe they will be again. There's a lot going on there, Pete. A lot of moving parts, and I know probably during the season they don't do it. So for now, the Commanders.
Yeah.
Such a great name. But I'll say Washington Commanders, and I'll say Buffalo. So the Commanders and Buffalo, Pete. How about that?
I like it. Cincinnati's a lot of people talk about Buffalo. They talk about Cincinnati. I mean, there are some great teams in the AFC this year. There's no doubt about it. And it's, I think you could throw a bunch of different names out there and you could see a reason why maybe they could be the team. But I think it's kind of fun because otherwise it's pretty obvious what teams so far, and all you got to do is look on these betting lines to say, all right, they're going, probably pretty likely that that's going to be the case. All right, how about this? NCAA college football. Bill Belichick, first year ever coaching at the college level. Should be pretty interesting, John. What do you think? If you're a player, he went out and recruited the living tar out of everybody, right? But he did a lot of it in the portal. He got the high school kids too, but he went out in the portal and picked up a hell of a lot of different folks that came over to North Carolina. And they got a great stadium. They've got great fans. Now they just need to have a great football team. And I don't know if it all happens in 1 year, but I wouldn't be totally shocked. And I think he's done a really good job. And as we've talked about before, when we talk about Bill Belichick, what was his first hire? He went out and got his general manager. And his general manager is the guy who's out there not only helping the recruiting, but he's the guy who's trying to figure out how much do we pay this guy? How much do we pay that guy? How are we going to do this? Those are sort of the way the job looks like when you're the GM in college football these days. You're out there getting players, great players, and you're trying to figure out how do I get them and how do I get them with the cheapest amount of money because we got to spread this around. I think that it's going to be a really interesting year. Are they going to go 10-2? No. But could they be somebody who is pretty damn competitive and maybe wins 8 or 9 games? Maybe, that's not that far from 10, but it all depends on how the ball bounces. But I'm excited to see Belichick in college going out there and going up against all the competition they've got at the college level.
Let me ask you this, Pete. One question. Who had a better team coming in, Colorado or North Carolina?
Coming in this year?
With the new coach coming in. I mean, when Dion came into Colorado, they were what, 1-10, Pete?
Yeah.
Terrible. So how about North Carolina, and what kind of team did they have versus what kind of team Dion had? Which one had the better?
The better team, North Carolina did.
Of course.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to say here is he doesn't have as heavy a lift as Dion had. And Dion recruited the heck out of kids, just like Coach Belichick's doing, as he should, because he's got the rings to prove it, Pete. But I would say that it's not as heavy a lift. Now, granted, Dion came out 4-0 and then zip, basically, it was just, I think the only other one he won was Colorado State or something like that. Mm-hmm. No offense to Colorado State, but they don't play in Belichick's league out there, Pete. So I'll say that right now they're ranked about 50th, maybe 55th best team. If he can bring them into the top 25, it's a huge year for him. Yep. Huge. And it'll be huge for recruiting. And I'm sure that North Carolina is going to get a lot of kids signing up for school there, just like Dion was able to do at Colorado. I'm sure he'll get a lot of great recruits. And if he keeps his focus, as he usually has when he's been a coach, I will say that this could be just a great turnaround for that program. Yeah. Question is, of course, does he keep his health? And does the press just talk about his girlfriend nonstop instead of talking about how the Tar Heels are doing? So hopefully they talk more about Tar Heels football and recruiting and the play on the field than his girlfriend. But that remains to be seen, Pete.
Yeah, although I will say this, I haven't seen as much on her now that they've all digested that whole thing. We haven't seen as much about that. Now they are talking about football and how good they potentially could be. I think he got himself a pretty good quarterback this year. I think they've done a lot of things positionally that could be pretty beneficial, and they've got a little bit more depth because of the portal. So, people expect things to happen. It used to be, give him 3 or 4 years because he's got to go out and recruit the players. That ain't true anymore. Now you go out immediately and get veteran players because of the portal. So, like it or not, that's the way it is. And it is a quicker turnaround if you do the right thing. And I think that Belichick, if anybody's going to do it the right way and get it done and get the right players, I think he's definitely pretty high on my list.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say, again, not putting shade on Dion for this either, but Dion had, some coaching experience, but it's not the depth that Belichick had and has. So look for a bigger turnaround with NC than you saw with Colorado. Just my final take. All right. Thank you for joining us, folks. It's always fun to have you here at the Rebel's Edge. Make sure you check out marketrebellion.com/get started. And Pete and I will be back tomorrow, but I forget what time, Pete. What time are we going to be back tomorrow?
I believe it's 1 p.m., Monday through Thursday. Giddy up.